Hi there, everybody. This is Bill Houston, and you're watching the Bill Houston podcast. Thanks for tuning in. Please donate if you can to the link below, tinyurl.com. Donate to Bill Houston. If you don't do PayPal, my USPS address is P.O. Box 22, Endicott, New York, 13761. Or you can just Google Bill Houston's fracking resume. All of those details, my PayPal and my snail mail address, are all right there. And I really need your support in order to continue doing this work. And I'm under a lot of pressure, which I'm not going to get into right now, but I have a lot of pressures on my life right now, friends. So really could use your support if you appreciate the work that I've done. If you just Google Bill Houston's fracking resume, you can see what I've done in the past 10 years. And I have a pretty long history of doing good public service work. We got this very important NYSEG rate case coming up. They only happen once every 3 years. They're proposing a rate increase for electric rates up to 24%, and for gas rates, I think it was up to 4%. If you want to make a comment, this is your opportunity. If you want to file comments by mail, so here's how you do that. You address the envelope and direct the comments to the Honorable Kathleen H. Burgess, Secretary, Public Service Commission, 3 Empire State Plaza, Albany, New York, 12223. You can call the opinion line, 1-800-335-2120. That's 1-800-335-2120, 24 hours a day. Comments provided through this line are not transcribed, but a summary is provided to the ALJ and the Commission for their consideration. Comments submitted by these alternative means are requested by August 26, 2019, though comments will be accepted throughout these proceedings. Once again, the 2 docket numbers you need to reference are 19E 0378, that's for electric, and also 19G 0379, that's for gas. You can also email comments to secretary@dps.ny.gov. That's secretary@dps.ny.gov.
Mr. Peter.
Peter Berg.
After you, we Keith Shue.
Okay, I want to contest
both rate hikes requests. On the gas issue, it's totally absurd that NYSEG should have the nerve to suggest that they want to upgrade to a 12-inch line over 50 miles to a city with no established market for the additional gas that the pipeline would supply. That makes no sense whatsoever. So as I understand it, there are 3 outfits in Oneonta that cannot be supplied with gas throughout the whole winter. So maybe they're without gas for 3 to 5 days, so they have to come up with a supplemental fuel source. Well, I mean, if PSC wanted to do some favors for the public, they should mandate that any outfit, any corporation, any company look for other ways to deal with their energy problems, not foist a gas project, a totally unneeded gas project, on the rest of us with accompanying rate increases. Again, on this gas issue, Professor Robert Howarth recently came out with a study where he said that still the predominance of the methane that has escaped into the atmosphere is from fracked gas from the U.S. And he estimates it's about a half of the contribution of excess gas in the atmosphere comes from the U.S. fracking operations. And in fact, it's so bad that it constitutes a third of worldwide fugitive gas sources. So this is a major concern. Now, Professors Paul Beckwith and Peter Wadhams and other scientists who have focused on the Arctic say that our prospects are far more dire than the IPCC is predicting, that we have less than 10 years. They're saying that there's a very strong chance that the Arctic will go ice-free or almost ice-free sometime within the next 5 years, and it will go ice-free in September. And once a body of water goes ice-free, if you still have the same amount of energy radiating down onto that water, it takes a relatively very short period of time for that water temperature to go from 32 degrees, well, I should talk in centigrade, from 0 degrees to 80 degrees. Do the math. That's a real life nightmare. So 80 times 2, 160 plus 30, 190 degrees. This is beyond belief, but scientists are saying this, and they're saying that it could happen within the next 5 years. Now, the first time it happens could be for only a month, but in the following year, the ice-free condition could extend to 2 months or 3 months, and so on. Once these conditions are established, it's going to be very hard to back off from this tipping point. Very, very difficult. So the Public Service Commission should be forbidding any utility from expanding gas, and they should look for ways to close down the gas operations. On the electric front, it's very obvious that NYSEG has been cutting corners, cheapening their service for years. About 5 years ago, they left us in the lurch for almost a week without electric. During the winter, a tree had fallen over onto the high tension, no, it was not during the winter, it was the summer. A tree had fallen over onto the high tension wires and put our whole neighborhood out of electric. But it was a major windstorm that was affecting downstate regions also. So they sent all their trucks downstate and left us in the lurch. We knew of crews close to us, that should have been close to us, should have been servicing our problem right then and there. Instead, we had to wait for almost a week for them to come back up from downstate to do their job. And we've already established that they do not read their meters every month as they should. Instead, for me, they read the meter about once every 3 or 4 or 5 months. Whenever they get out there, there is no rhyme or reason or regularity to their meter reading schedule. So I submit that they should not be allowed this rate increase. They've not earned it. And furthermore, Public Service Commission should be looking for ways to encourage the public to switch over to electrify as much as possible. NYSEG, for instance, is not offering any incentives for switching over to Heat Smart program. This is really negligent on their part. National Grid is doing that. It would certainly make it a good bit easier for customers to save on their gas, their oil appliances, their heating appliances, by switching over to super efficient heat pumps. Thank you.
Thank you. Keith Shue, and to be followed by Dan Taylor.
Thank you for this opportunity. My name is Keith Shue. I'm an electrical engineer, and I'm a party to this case. I've also been an advisor to various organizations on energy issues. The reason that I'm here is because I want to see New York achieve its climate goals, something that will only happen if the PSC requires that utilities do their part. NYSEG's new plan for charging ratepayers to expand the 50-mile DeRuyter pipeline across New York flies directly in the face of the state's professed commitment to use less fossil fuels. 2 years ago, the plan was to replace 8-inch pipe with 10-inch pipe between Norwich and Oneonta, about 25 miles. That has now turned into a 50-mile, 12-inch project that will be at least 4 times as expensive, and probably more than that. I say that especially when you look at future construction costs, which NYSEG has failed to consider, water crossings, and other types of impacts. Based on cross-sectional area, a new 12-inch pipeline could deliver more than twice as much gas to our region and it would be able to do that for another 70 years. Several parties to this case, including myself, have tried to get straight answers from NYSEG about this. Instead, we get obfuscation and misleading rhetoric. NYSEG says the pipeline is old, but it is the same age as much of the Dominion system and plenty of other pipelines throughout New York. Does that mean we should replace every old pipe with a bigger one? Even if replacement is warranted, expansion is not. NYSEG claims that a bigger pipeline would allow it to turn off the compressor station in Norwich. But that is also what NYSEG said about its previous, more modest plan for a 10-inch upgrade downstream of the compressor. It is certainly no reason for a 50-mile 12-inch project. Furthermore, the Norwich compressor runs less than 1% of the time and costs just $8,500 a year to operate. Again, not justification for a new multi-million-dollar pipeline. NYSEG claims that a bigger pipe would avoid interruptibles, but only a few designated interruptibles are required to burn backup fuel for only a few hours out of the whole year. Interruptible contracts are a normal and a sensible mechanism for managing gas infrastructure. On average, the DeRuyter runs at about 60% of maximum demand. Completely eliminating interruptibles by doubling pipeline capacity would put average utilization at less than 30%, making for an overbuilt system. Unless, of course, the real goal is to hook up more customers, which is, I think, what we're talking about here. Finally, NYSEG misleadingly says that Dominion, which supplies the DeRuyter, is fully subscribed, implying that a bigger DeRuyter pipeline might not carry more gas. We kind of heard that tonight. However, fully subscribed just means that Dominion has a buyer for whatever gas it puts into the system today. It does not mean that Dominion cannot or will not supply more gas. Frankly, we are tired of NYSEG insulting our intelligence. This is not rocket science. Nobody is being fooled. The reason for a bigger pipeline is to move more gas into our region. Politically motivated entities like the Otsego County IDA have even admitted that this is what they want. Yet when parties seek reasonable inquiry about closed-door meetings that took place with proponents of more gas, NYSEG gets offended. So NYSEG kind of sort of admits that this is about load growth, but they don't want to talk about it. They need to talk about it. Title 16 CRR NY 61.4 requires that decisions be based on sound data, not speculation, not based on backroom deals. NYSEG must also reconcile any plans with recently enacted state law, the Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act, which requires that we burn less fossil fuels tomorrow than today. This may be the first test of that legislation. Please do not let NYSEG make a mockery of it. NYSEG needs a major course correction here, but that won't happen unless the PSC requires it. Instead of accepting plans to expand the DeRuyter pipeline, the PSC should require that the company invest in a different future, as other utilities are starting to do. Central Hudson recently committed to decapitalizing gas infrastructure. I have some footnotes that go into that. NYSEG should as well. The PSC should require that NYSEG provide incentives for electric heat pumps like other utilities are doing, for home envelope upgrades, which on average can reduce gas use at 20%, and for non-pipe alternatives that reduce gas consumption. Moreover, the PSC should require that NYSEG upgrades its electric grid, something which frankly it's been woefully inadequate at doing, and we've heard a lot about that today. That's what's needed to support beneficial electrification and the deployment of large-scale renewable projects that we will need to build here in our state if we are serious about tackling climate change. Expansion of the DeRuyter pipeline does not fit into this picture. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Dan Taylor, and then the next speaker will be Suzanne Winkler.
Some of what I am going to say is already been stated, but I want my comments on the record nonetheless. In their 2016 rate case, NYSEG stated that it would upgrade 25 miles of the DeRuyter pipeline from 8-inch pipe to 10-inch pipe. NYSEG collected $32 million to do that, but has decided now that it plans instead to upgrade 50 miles of pipe to 12-inch at a cost of some hundreds of millions of dollars. I don't need to tell the Public Service Commission that New York has determined with the Climate Leadership Community Protection Act that more gas pipelines is the wrong direction for the state. The public, the governor, the legislature, and I hope the PSC are now all aligned in moving off of fossil fuels, polluting the air and heating our climate. We have now defined a path to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and increase renewable assets. Requiring gas customers to purchase what we hope will be what must be a stranded asset in a decade or two seems to be bad planning indeed. It is the PSC's role in this process to advocate for the public. We are here detailing the problems with NYSEG's rate case. The proposals contained in this rate case must be almost entirely rewritten to provide the responsible delivery of electricity, including provision of a grid that permits beneficial electrification. This rate case must include the necessary shrinking, the decapitalization of gas infrastructure. The rate case must conform to state energy goals. It must answer our responsible public appeal. Finally, it must align with the demands of climate change. We will no longer allow a corporate wish list to be rubber-stamped by a state agency. We are waiting and watching to see whether the PSC will properly fulfill its role as public advocate, as a public advocate. Thank you.
Thank you. Suzanne Winkler, and then the next speaker will be Jennifer Carmen Clark.
Good evening. My name is Suzanne Winkler. I'm from Burlington Flats, New York, which is in Otsego County. As a party in the rate case, I'm learning that NYSEG, my now owned foreign utility, employs the same tactics as the fossil fuel industry to disempower customers and communities, shut out the public, and keep us misinformed. We, the public, are challenged to unravel the curtain woven by NYSEG, intended to keep customers like us in the dark. What's needed is a NYSEG thesaurus to decipher what is inferred versus what they keep veiled. Words and phrases are devised to confuse. Folks assume that non-pipe alternative, NPA, means renewable energy. But according to NYSEG, NYSERDA, and the PSC, compressed natural gas by truck, CNG, is considered a non-pipe alternative. That's right, NPAs can mean gas, and DERs, distributed energy resources, usually means gas too. Reliability and resilience are buzzwords that can also mean new pipes and more gas. As the PSC reads the company's responses to interrogatories and testimonies in the rate case, please be alert to phrases like fully subscribed, which NYSEG uses to blur on purpose. If a pipeline like Dominion is fully subscribed, it does not mean that it can't carry more gas. And interruptibles doesn't mean that customers are required to burn gas for weeks at a time, but rather, at most, a few hours each year. The rate case process has evolved to approve proposals seemingly in the light of day, but that is not so. The PSC must step in and do its job as regulator so that this monopoly's obfuscated answers and nuanced meanings don't slide through a system set up to benefit an industry that's already out of control. The PSC must be the public's advocate as charged and direct NYSEG to do what's most needed at this time of regional, state, and national climate crisis. Not only has NYSEG failed to maintain our electric grid, but they have failed to imagine or grasp what's needed going forward. The PSC must push NYSEG to develop a regional grid that can interact with a robust macro grid and support deployment of renewables we need to significantly reduce emissions. These priorities must also be built into the economic decisions being made within our own counties now. Say no to the nonsensical expansion of the DeRuyter pipeline. If a new pipeline is required, it must be replaced with a smaller pipe 50 miles long and 8 inches. Require decapitalization of NYSEG's gas infrastructure, upgrading the grid, renewable NPAs, and incentives for the public with electric heat pumps and envelope upgrades. We really must burn less gas tomorrow than we do today, not more. Thank you for the opportunity, but I do have a couple more comments that I'd like to make in regard to the hearing, the presentation before our speakers. Speaking of misinformation, I believe it was disingenuous of NYSEG to send 3 representatives here, sure lovely people, but who intentionally, specifically, don't know the answers to questions that ratepayers are asking. In fact, they should send 3 professionals who can answer our questions, because these are things that we deserve to know. And for us to be involved in the system, we need to get answers, not read through that really complicated rate case. And lastly, it's absolutely absurd for NYSEG to claim tonight that it's not expanding gas infrastructure when it plans to more than double the amount of gas that the DeRuyter pipeline can carry. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Jennifer Carmen Clark, to be followed by Heather Stanton.
Hello, my name is Jennifer Carmen Clark, and I'm a mother, a teacher, and a member of the climate change group Mothers Out Front in Elmira, which is part of Chemung County. First, I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak here today. I'm here today to speak in opposition to the NYSEG rate increases. As a mother and a teacher, I spend a large part of every day thinking of ways that I personally and how we as a society can make things better for our children. There are many threats to our children that I worry about, but the greatest of all comes from the threat of global climate change. According to NYSEG's own rate filing presentation tonight, storms and other extreme weather are becoming more and more prevalent. Our current energy system is woefully unprepared, as evidenced by long energy outages also mentioned in the NYSEG report. Scientists have been telling us for years that the increase in storm frequency and intensity is directly related to global climate change and will only be more common in the future. In fact, it was just 1 year ago yesterday that Elmira and the surrounding Finger Lakes region suffered an extreme weather event that led to devastating flash flooding, causing widespread damage to homes and to roadways. A longtime friend of mine was awakened by an urgent phone call in the early morning hours of that day in Lodi, New York, telling her that she had to immediately evacuate from the campground on Seneca Lake that she runs with her husband. As the flash flood came through, it took 23 mobile homes, campers, and trailers with it, and one camper even ended up inside her camper in Seneca Lake. Miraculously, no one was seriously hurt, but she suffered more than $1 million worth of property damage and income loss to her business. More importantly, the lives of her family and her campers were put at risk. Many other homes in the area were also severely damaged, and other lives were put at risk as well. This is just one example of why NYSEG can and should be doing more to protect our citizens from the ravages of extreme weather caused by climate change. NYSEG does not deserve a rate increase until they do more to reduce their reliance on climate-changing fossil fuels by investing more in renewable energy sources like solar and wind. This filing presented here today lacks details, and the representatives here today were unable to answer my question about what % of the proposed rate increase will actually be used to develop and improve renewable energy technologies. Therefore, I remain opposed to any rate increase for NYSEG until they stop building and repairing an antiquated energy system and instead put that money toward the green energy of the future by investing more in our community solar farms, our wind farms, and in energy-efficient heat pumps. Our children's lives and their futures are literally depending on it. Thank you.
Thank you. Heather Stanton, to be followed by Kevin Scott.
I am Heather Stanton of Elmira, New York, and the team coordinator for Chemung County Mothers Out Front. I do not support any rate increase that would be used to fund an increase in natural gas use or more natural gas infrastructure. I'm especially concerned about this new De Ruyter pipeline, which would more than double the capacity of gas. Why is this? Because my purpose is to ensure a livable climate for my children, for all of our children, and the extraction and burning of natural gas, like all fossil fuels, drives the dangerous climate changes that are the greatest threat to our children's future that we face. I've worked in the public schools for 20 years, and I have witnessed firsthand all of the love, energy, time, and money people invest in their children. I've done some calculations. The time I've invested in making dinner alone is over 2,500 hours. Reading to my kids at night, around 1,250 hours. Countless hours spent at sports practices and rehearsals and helping with homework. I have spent money on all kinds of things for my children, but among the most important, I count solar panels on a local Renovus solar farm and my electric hybrid plug-in car, a Chevy Volt. Why do we invest so much in our children? Because we are raising them up to have a successful future. But all of our investments in them will be for naught if they do not have the necessary prerequisite, which is a livable climate. I am reminded of 15-year-old Greta Thunberg of Sweden, who told the United Nations in December 2018 in regard to our largely unchanging fossil fuel use and the dangerous climate changes it causes. You say you love your children above all else, and yet you are stealing their future in front of their very eyes. Well, I won't steal my children's future or your children's future, and I implore you to do what is necessary not to steal it either. I invested in solar panels on a local Renovus solar farm, in large part to do something to save my children's future. But this spring, NYSEG did not have the necessary staff to calculate the credits I was due from the panels. So for 3 months, I went without a bill, despite me calling repeatedly and asking for a bill. Then I received a very large bill all at once, after the limited staff had finally calculated my credits. It also took NYSEG a long time to hook up the solar panels to the grid once the solar farm was complete. This is not acceptable. NYSEG should increase staffing to speed interconnection of large solar and wind projects, substantially improve grid infrastructure to better accommodate distributed renewable energy like solar and wind, and credit customers expeditiously. Most of all, I asked NYSEG not to use any rate increase for potential increased natural gas use, such as the De Ruyter pipeline could provide. Instead, do what will save our future and invest in making much more renewable energy, such as solar and wind, possible. Thank you.
Thank you. Kevin Scott, to be followed by Trellin Smith.
Hi, my name is Kevin Scott. I live on Crestmont here in Binghamton. Long-time NYSEG ratepayer. And it seems in spite of whatever measures I take, be it CFL light bulbs or LED light bulbs or switching to a smaller refrigerator, my bill still keeps going up. In the last 10 years, I was paying about $20 to $25 10 years ago. This bill I got yesterday is $50 even for declining energy usage. And it's not the supply cost, it's all NYSEG's fixed cost. The delivery and the $15 a month I have to pay for the pleasure of getting an electric bill. And just on a lark, I found the web page for Endicott Light. They're the municipal electric company over in Endicott. The same number of kilowatt hours that I was billed for that cost me $50, they would have paid $17 for in Endicott. Their monthly fixed bill, this is current, $3.75. This isn't from like the 20th century. So on that basis, I can't fathom where the money that I pay, of the $50, $8 of it was the actual cost of the energy. Everything else was taxes and delivery. I understand they have to pay infrastructure and pay their linemen and various other things, and I'm not dinging them at all, but it seems excessive. I also noticed that Iberdrola has been steadily increasing their dividends over the last few years. 2% in 2015 up to, it's almost 4% now. That's quite a dividend for a utility stock. And I would almost recommend buying their stock just based on that. I'm going to be quick. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.